Okay, so we've got our agent loop, we've got a to-do tool and a sub-agent tool. And in this video, we are going to add a persistent disk-based task system. So unlike the to-do, which is for short checklists, this will be for long multi-step processes that we can return to in a new session. So to get us started, I'm going to create a new file here called task.ts. And I apologize in advance. I'm going to drop a bunch of stuff in here. Okay, so we've got file system and path. We've got our work directory from our config, which we set up previously, which is just our working directory. We've got marks and to-do status, since it's going to be the same completed, pending, and in progress. So we'll just mark that as task status, and we'll export that if we need to, just to distinguish it between the two, task versus to-do. We've got our type of task, which is ID, subject, description, status, blocked by, and owner. And the blocked by is important because unlike our to-do list, this isn't necessarily sequential. This is going to be a dependency graph. So they're not necessarily, the AI isn't to grab things based on the order or the ID. It's based on what it's blocked by. So if you have task number 3 and it's blocked by task number 2, you have to complete task number 2 before you can start task number 3. A couple consts here, just a prefix. Our file name is going to be task underscore and then the ID, and it's going to be a JSON file. And then this is our task directory that the class we create will create in our working directory. And then the rest of these are really just one-liners. Get the task file path based on the ID. So it's task file prefix, the ID, and the extension in the task directory. Read the task file. So same thing, just takes in the ID, uses our task file path to parse that out as JSON. Write a file, again, just the ID, get the path, write out the JSON. Validate a file. So we're making sure it starts with and ends with the prefix and extension. Last task ID is dependent on this guy down here. So it's really just going to scan the directory and get the very last, latest ID. ID from file name, stupid simple, just parse the int, get the number between the prefix and the extension. Task label, it's just going to output. It's just something I can use to save some typing. So it's just the status, the ID, the subject, and this B is going to be if it has things that it's blocked by. And then scan task files, again, sort of a one-liner. I broke it out, but it's read the directory, filter on the valid task file names in case we get like a weird DS store or something like that in there. Get the IDs, and then make sure it's not null, so it wasn't a weird file, and then sort those on the IDs. And that's the end of our helpers. So we're going to get started on our class here. It's task manager. In our constructor, we're just going to make that directory. So make dir sync. And we're just going to use our task dir, recursive true. So what we're going to have here is a create method, a get, an update, and a list. So I think these are relatively self-explanatory, but the create is going to create a task. So it's going to take into it the subject and the description. Both of these are going to be strings. We're going to say const t is a task, which we defined up above. Our ID is going to be that last task ID plus 1. We'll drop in the subject and the description. It's a new task, so we'll default to pending. Our blocked by will be an empty array. And then our owner, which we're not really going to use today, but we may touch on later, it's just going to be an empty string for now. Then we're simply going to write our task file, the ID, and the task. And then while we're in here, we'll just go ahead and return that guy as a JSON string. Okay, so that's the end of our create. We'll move on to this get. And this is going to be super easy. It's going to take in an ID, which is a number, and it's going to return a string, which is going to be the contents of the task file. So we just pass the ID in there, we JSON stringify it, we're all done. Okay, update. This one's a slightly more complicated function. We're going to have an ID, which is a number. We are going to have a status, which is a task status. We're going to have add. This is really just short for add blocked by. So add a ID of a task that this is dependent on. And then a remove, which again is the opposite of that. Remove a dependency. This is no longer blocking this current task. I'm going to break these out a bit. This guy is going to return a string. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is get our task. We just need to pass in the ID for that. And we're going to see if we did get a status, which needs to be optional here. And we'll say t.status equals status. And then we'll also say if the status is completed, we need to clear the dependency. So I lied. We're going to have one other method. And we're going to say this.clear dependency and pass that ID in. So let me just sketch that out really quick. Okay, so we'll get to that. So if we have add, that means that we are adding a blocker. So t.blocked by. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new set, spread our current blocked by in there, and then drop in our new ones. And that way we have unique values. So that's all we're doing there is we're saying merge these two things together, the add and the existing ones. Then if we have remove, that means we're removing a blocked by. So blocked by equals, and then we can just filter that. And we say just remove any of them, or filter these down to the ones that are not in the remove. And then finally, we're just going to write the task file with the updated task, and then we'll return that guy. Okay, there's our update, and now we'll do our list, which is really just formatting this out for the purposes of displaying in our terminal. So we'll say entries equals scan task files, and then we'll return as long as we have a length. We'll map that, call this task ID. Otherwise, we'll return no tasks. Okay, so let's do this map guy here. We'll get the task. We'll see if we have a blocked by length. And if we do, let's just go here. And we'll say blocked by these guys, so we're just JSON stringifying that. Otherwise, that'll be an empty string. Then we will return, using that task label thing I showed earlier, the task and the blocked by. Okay, that is our list. And now we're going to do this clear dependency guy, which is relatively simple. We're just going to say for, say const tid scan task files. So that's all of our files, and we've got all the IDs of those guys. Then we'll say t is read the task file. Then we'll just say if we have the ID in our blocked by, we just want to clear that. So we can actually, we can kind of just copy this guy. I don't know if that's exact, but we'll drop that in there. And we'll say filter by b not equal ID. Okay, so that should clear out this ID from this task's blocked by. And then we'll just write the new task file. Okay, that is, I'm sure I messed something up in here, but that's looking pretty good. We've got task manager, we can create, we can get, we can update, we can list, and we can clear the dependencies when we move to completed. So now we're going to jump over to our tools and wire all this up. So we're going to bring in our task manager. Looks like we're not using this to-do item. Clear that out. And we're going to instantiate this. So const, just say task equals new task manager. So that's fired up. We'll come down here to our list of tools, and we're not going to need to do like a full executable like these run edits and run write because it's all handled in the task manager, very similar to what we did with to-dos previously. So we're going to come down here. We're going to end up with 4 of these. So we'll start with task create, which is going to be a tool. It's going to have a description. Figure that out in a second. It's going to have an input schema, which will use our Zod schema. And it's going to have an execute, which will always be an async function that does something. So there's our template for task create. I have one for update, list, and get. Okay, so this will be create a new task, be update a task. This will be list all tasks, and this will be get a task by ID. Now, for each of these schemas, we're going to be passing in the arguments that we need. So for task create, we have the subject and the description, and then we pass that into task create. So if we come down here, this guy is a bit bigger. We've got our ID or status, the blocked by and add blocked by and remove blocked by. So let's let AI do that for us. So task ID, status, add, remove, and then we just pass those in. Down here, Zod schema is just going to be an empty object, and we are going to call task list. And then on this guy, we're going to pass in the task ID, and we're going to send that over to task get. I'm going to format all this. It's a little cleaner. And the other thing we're going to do is jump over to our index. We used to say use the to-do tool for multi-step planning, yada, yada, yada. Now we're going to say prefer task create, update, and list for multi-step work, and then use the to-dos for a short checklist. So we're going to try this out. I'm going to bring up our terminal. I'm also going to open this window here so that we see our task folder get created. On run index, and we can see our task folder has been created because we fired up the task manager. I'm going to say create 3 tasks, set up project, write code, write tests, and make them depend on each other in order. So 2 depends on 1, 3 depends on 2. Cool. So we have our 3 tasks. There's our first one, it's not blocked by anything. Our second one is blocked by task 1. And our third one is blocked by task 2. So now I'm going to say complete task 1 and then list tasks. Cool. So we have our setup was completed. Write code pending was blocked, but now it's unblocked. Write test pending, blah, blah, blah. So it's looking good. Now the cool thing is we can say exit our session, start a new session, say list tasks, and we should get a list of our tasks. And there they are. This says complete, but this write code one still says blocked by task 1. So it looks like we did not clear out. Okay, so we didn't clear out the dependency. I screwed that up. So blocked by is equal to that guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start all over. I'm going to delete the task directory, kill this. We will fire up a new session, give it the exact same command. So we can see our task created just as before. 2 is blocked by 1, 3 is blocked by 2. I'm going to leave 2 open, and we're going to say complete task 1, then list tasks. And I think we should see this. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, so that worked. We will clear this out. We'll load it up again and say list tasks. And there we go. So 2 is no longer blocked by 1. 3 is blocked by 2. We now have a disk-based persistent task management system.